Last week I posted this video that showed high intensity drills, which essentially consisted of a lot of people getting stabbed and killed on the spot, or if they were lucky, getting stabbed and bleeding out 5 minutes later on their way to the emergency room. It was a short music video that showed the most action-y parts of the night. In this video here, I want to break down the 3 primary themes that were evident on the night in relation to what tactics worked well against a crazy stabby person and what ones didn't. The first theme that was evident on the night was just run. A phrase I'm sure we've all heard when it comes to knife defense. This first clip shows us that if you do have an agility advantage over someone because they're a lot bigger and slower than you are, you can traverse obstacles to slow them down. But it also shows us that you need to be able to recognize when running is no longer the best course of action. Notice how the attacker tended to avoid going directly up or down. They tended to take the long way around the obstacle instead. When he did decide to go up, it was very slow. The point where this went downhill was when the defender backed into a corner. This left no opportunity for sudden forward momentum that would not result in the attacker grabbing him, which is essentially exactly what happened. This next clip has a much better outcome. Here, the defender stays on the move while consistently placing the obstacle between himself and the attacker. He did sustain 1 stab to the back, and we'll never know if this would have been enough to stop him, but assuming it wouldn't be, I'd say this was a success. So, what was the difference between the first clip and the second clip? I believe it was the amount of consistent forward momentum. In the first clip, there were a few points where the defenders seemed unsure as to whether or not they were going to stay or run. I think this can be chalked up to the differences in room layout, as in the second clip, the obstacle was in the middle, meaning the defender could essentially run rings around it, and so long as the attacker was not confident in climbing over swiftly and quickly, the defender would have a high chance of escaping so long as they kept moving. However, in the first, it was off to the side, leaving less space to run on that side of the obstacle, meaning running was less of an option. In essence, before you decide to just run, you need to account for whether or not your environment is set up in a way that will likely lead to your escape. If it isn't, you might not make it, kinda like this. Or this. Or this. The second theme that was evident on the night was focusing purely on offense. This was a theory that I personally wanted to test out going into the night. Can you make your attacker so worried about not getting punched that they forget to stab you? The answer was sometimes yes. And sometimes no. This next clip shows that pure offense can be very effective if you choose to implement it when your attacker is in a disadvantageous position. The obstacle here presented the defender with an opportunity, and he took it, which paid off. Perhaps something is to be said here about a position before submission principle in knife defense, where if you can't run, you can use obstacles to place your attacker in a disadvantageous position and then attack. Although it doesn't always go that way, as the same concept was applied here, and although it looks like it goes well at first, I landed on top of him and sewing machined him afterwards. Now the third and final dominant theme of the night was the use of improvised weapons. In this clip, the defender uses a broom, but it only causes a momentary distraction before becoming useless and really just gets in the way. In the next one, he throws an object causing a similar result. And in this next one, once I see that he's picked up an object, I throw a broom at his face, which was very satisfying and, to be honest, I'm pretty proud of. And finally, the defender snaps a broom on my arm, which I didn't feel until half an hour afterwards. At best, I would say the use of improvised weapons in this particular instance only resulted in a momentary shift in focus on the part of the attacker. So, what are the big takeaway lessons from this? 1. Running is a great option if your environment is suited to it. 2. Focusing completely on offense can work, and it can also not. 3. Using objects momentarily shifts the focus of the attacker. But the most important number one lesson here, I think, is that there is no one strategy. There is no, I would just X, Y, or Z. The biggest lesson I took out of this was that the factor that most determines your success is not how well you run, how well you fight, or how aware of your surroundings you are, but how capable you are of saying, what I'm doing right now isn't working, I need to change my tactics. How capable you are of recognizing that you need to change tactics and how well you decide what tactic to change to are, in my opinion, the greatest factors that determine success in a situation like this. That being said, you obviously need to have a good base foundation of each of these individual factors for this to be something you can do effectively, so you absolutely need to know how to run, you need to know how to fight, and in order to do any of this, you need to go to a gym and do what I always say, which is actually learn how to defend yourself. Remember to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos just like this one.